Good afternoon, St. Joseph School families. So, next week here at school, we have parent-teacher conferences. We're looking forward to them. Parent-teacher conferences take place after school on Thursday, as well as during the day on Friday. Now, it's always a good time at this time of year to really review and kind of go over what are things that make for good parent-teacher conferences. So I have 7 reminders for you today to take into parent-teacher conferences. First of all, number one, they're not personal, but they kind of are. Let me explain what I mean by that. We know as parents that when we go into our child's conference, it's about them and it's about their learning and it's about their curriculum and how they're doing in class. But we have a way as parents of really thinking we're on display, we're being judged, we're being evaluated on our parenting in that conference, even if that's not happening. To be honest with you, the same thing happens with teachers. We really have great investment in wanting our students to succeed. And so what happens is going into that conference, we often personalize that as well too. So these things and feelings are very, very natural, but it's good to remember it's not personal, even if it kind of is and kind of does feel that way. Which leads me to point number 2. It's very important that conferences are truthful and tactful at the same time. Well, what do I mean? First of all, if we're not honest with you to communicate concerns that you have, or just the same as parents, if you're not communicating concerns you have, there's really a disservice done, and we're missing some valuable pieces of information. However, realizing in that point number 1 that we often do take this personally, we've got to be very, very tactful with how we present that information. So be tactful and truthful at the same time. Third, realize that good conferences go beyond the grades. Yes, we are a school. Schools are here to teach, and your kids learn, and your kids have assessments, and you want to know how they're doing and how they're picking up the curriculum that's presented. However, a good part about a Catholic school is that we see kids in all different aspects. So it's very, very good for conferences to also talk about how kids are growing in leadership, or social skills they're picking up, or friends they're making, or ways that teachers are seeing them grow in virtue, or just the same, how is Mass and their prayer. All of this is important to your child because these things happen at school beyond the academics. Fourth, realize when you get conferences, you're often bringing in the 2 or 3 people in the room that really know the child the best. There's a lot of great learning that can happen teacher to parent and parent to teacher. So chances are, if there's something that's been a struggle in class, parents are seeing the same thing at home. Or if you have questions from things you're seeing at home, teacher has a very good insight on that from what's working out in class. It's a great place to talk about what's working, what are real strengths, and have that team approach between parent and teacher. Fifth, realize that conferences for students who are very successful are not a waste of time. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, if you can't make conferences, don't let this be a way to guilt you into coming. You don't need that. However, if you go to a conference and hear just a bunch of wonderful things about your kid and you wonder, was that worth my time? Often students are doing really well in class because their parents are very well invested in their education and want to see them do well. So your attending that conference has something to do with why the child is being so successful in school. Doesn't mean you absolutely have to come if you can't make it, but it does mean they're never a waste of time. Sixth, realize that conferences are only about your child. Reason I bring that in is it's tempting to want to know class dynamics or ways your child is relating to other kids or information from the other side of the classroom. We as teachers can only speak about your child. And so we would be unprofessional if we spoke about your child in other parent-teacher conferences. Realize that a parent-teacher conference only has to be about that one child. And seventh, and very important, celebrate success. What do I mean by that? Well, often we'll hear a lot of affirming things about your child at a parent-teacher conference, and it's good, and we want to always be affirming that good and leading our kids to good decisions. Take a few moments and celebrate that, whether that's in the car ride home or whether that's at the dinner table. Or when I was growing up, we always looked forward to parent-teacher conferences because my Catholic school in St. Cloud was 1 block away from the local Dairy Queen. You know, there's a Dairy Queen just down Robert Street in Butler, not very far from here. Might be a great place to celebrate hearing a lot of good things at a parent-teacher conference. They didn't pay me. I'm not endorsing Dairy Queen. They didn't pay me to say any of that, but it is a good way to celebrate. So have a wonderful weekend. And again, we look forward to seeing you next week at conferences.